Hey everybody, this is Pastor Paul up at Wellspring. We're so glad that you're with us. This is our first ever 6:30 p.m. service we have ever done. So we had some technical glitches this morning, so we wanted to jump on. We're going fully live again. I'm here live, Rita's here live. We have our worship we're going to throw in there. We think we got all of the kinks worked out, but we are so glad you're with us. Thanks for joining us. We're going to have a great time tonight. And if you want, go ahead and hit that share button and let's spread some encouragement throughout the community. Thanks for being with us and watch this.
Good morning, Wellspring.
Morning, everyone.
Glad to be here this morning with you again. We just want to say thank you to Rita. Just thank you for all the behind the scenes work that you've been doing, making the lyrics and the live stream. Thank you, Pastor Paul, for continuing to preach to an empty church, knowing that we are out there somewhere listening and that you are making a difference. And thank you, Darren, for the new setup and trying to put music behind the songs and these videos together. So it's a different way for all of us to worship. But we just really invite you this morning to join in with us wherever you're at, however you're feeling, just to choose this morning to worship with us. We worship you, Jesus, our Savior, our King.
I choose to worship, I choose to bow. What is paid in the offering, I lay it down. Here in the conflict, when doubt surrounds, though the song is unraveling, I choose to now. I will praise you through the fire, through the storm and through the flood. There is nothing that could ever steal my soul. In the valley, you are worthy, you are good when life is not. You will always and forever be my soul. I build my right here and now. In the midst of the darkest night, it won't burn out. For you are perfect, no matter what. In the joy of the suffering, I'll sing it loud. is power, victory, hope for the broken-hearted, healing meant for me. There is goodness, justice, rest for the weak and weary, love that's meant for me. This far He has led us through the darkness to the light of day. This far He has shown us love and mercy and unfailing grace. When my hope is lost in the shadows, this promise You have made, not far, not far. There is power, victory, hope for the broken-hearted, healing is meant for me. There is goodness, justice, rest for the weak and weary, love that's meant for me. When the water is crashing over, He's gonna save us. The water is crashing over, He's gonna rescue us. When the water is crashing over, He's gonna save us. The water is crashing over, He's gonna rescue us. When the water is crashing over, He's gonna save us. The water is crashing over, He's gonna rescue us. There is power, victory, hope for the broken-hearted, healing meant for me. There is goodness, justice, rest for the weak and weary, love that's meant for me. When the water is crashing over, He's gonna save us. The water is crashing over, but He's gonna rescue us.
Hey, Wellspring, this is Patrick Bradway, and I want to say good morning. I'm in my garage. I have about 2 minutes before my kids come looking for me, so this is my 2 minutes of quiet time. But I want to say good morning. Thanks for joining us online. We're excited and honored that you chose to spend your morning with us. And we also want to thank you for continuing to invest in the ministries that are happening here at Wellspring. And we continue to reach out to our community and meet the needs of giving food and essential items to those that really need it. And that's because of your help and your offerings and your tithes that you've continued to give faithfully. So we ask again, please give and make an impact in our community. And there's two ways to give. You can give online at wellspring906.com/give, or you can mail in a check to Wellspring P.O. Box 92, Escanaba, Michigan, 49829. Either way works, and we continue to meet the needs of those around us, and it's because of your generosity that we can do that. So have an amazing morning, enjoy your family time, and thank you for watching. Back to you, Pastor Paul.
again, welcome to our first ever 6:30 p.m. worship here at Wellspring. We're so excited that you're with us tonight. We had a couple of glitches this morning, so we wanted to jump back on here and reach out to our community tonight. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to hit the share button, go ahead. We don't know who's out there, who's going to be scrolling through, who needs this, so we just want to throw out all the encouragement we can. We're excited to be together tonight, even though we're separated. We're excited to be able to come together and worship Jesus. Let's give it up for the worship team, by the way. They did a great job. Thanks, Jill and Jeremy and Darren and Roxanne. What a great job. Darren helped put that video together. Rita's here again tonight helping us with our live stream. Thank you so much, Rita. We're excited and blessed to be able to do this with everybody. We have so much going on here at Wellspring. We're really excited in the midst of all of this corona stuff to continue to reach out and to love and serve our community. As many of you know, we helped with the Feeding America truck last week. There were over 1,000 families throughout the week that got helped last week. And that is a huge thank you to all of you who prayed, volunteered, donated. We just are so grateful. We love this community so much, and we are so grateful for your help and so grateful for your prayers. So thank you so much. And we have something really exciting and fun that we want to share next Sunday night. Right here on our Facebook Live at 7 p.m., we're actually going to be doing a trivia night for Wellspring Community Church, hosted by Pastor Patrick. It's going to be a great night of trivia, family-friendly. Everybody can be involved. We'll send out reminders throughout the week, but that's next Sunday at 7 p.m. right here on our Facebook Live. As we get ready to dive into this today, we also want to just take a moment and say thank you to all of our people in our community and surrounding area that are on the front lines that have still been going to their jobs every day, whether you're at a restaurant or you're stocking shelves at the grocery store for everybody, or you're at a restaurant providing food, or you're a healthcare worker in some capacity, or you're a teacher, an administrator helping get our kids on distance learning. There are so many different fields right now that have been vital and very different compared to what they've been in our history. And we just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for loving this community. Thank you for showing up and doing your job. And we are so thankful that we are able to have people like you in this community, and thankful for the people in this community who have made masks and done so much for people who are on the front lines. We just love this community. But we want to do kind of something special to honor people who are on the front lines. And right now, if you know anybody that's on the front lines and they live in our community, I just want you to put a comment on our page that says thank you and then tag their name on it. What we're going to do is we're going to go through all of the people that get tagged. We're going to draw a name, and we're going to send out a care package or two to a couple of these people for all that they've been doing for our community. Would you help us do that? If you know somebody, go ahead and write their name in, say thank you, and we'll get that out this week to them. Can you do me a favor in the midst of all that too? Would you be committed to praying for all these people on the front lines? Because they're in it every day. Especially I think about our teachers this week who've done so much for the education of our kids and the administration at the schools, trying to help get all of our kids on track. Would you do me a favor and commit to praying for them too? Because we need to be lifting them up, and just pray that they feel God in a super special way and to be encouraged through all of this. We are all in this together. And this evening, we're going to open up in prayer as we get into this. Would you bow your heads with me? God, you're faithful and you're good, and we're thankful to be together tonight, even though we're far away. Lord, I pray that you would take this message, and Lord, I pray that it would just encourage those who need it. Lord, I pray that it would give us the reminder of who you are and who we are in the midst of everything. And that, God, in the midst of the unknown, you are known and you know it all. And so, God, I pray that you'd help us to depend on you through this. And we just ask these things in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. So we just started this new series called We're All in This Together. We started it last week. It's in the book of Exodus, if you want to open up. That's the second book in your Bible. We're in Exodus chapter 2, and we're going to get there very shortly. But let me just give you a recap where we left off. We left off seeing the Hebrews, the Jews, become brave in the midst of an unimaginable tyranny and suffering from the Egyptians. A new Pharaoh came into power, and he saw the numbers of the Hebrews growing, and he decides that the best way, which this doesn't even make sense, but the best way to control the Hebrews would be to kill all of their sons that were being born. And so we're left in the middle of this hardship that is taking place. And last week we saw a Hebrew family step up and decide that they were not going to let their son be taken. And it took a village, but they worked together. And for 3 months, they have hidden the child away. Every time someone came, somebody else was reporting, and they would take the child somewhere else. They knew that they were all in this together, just like we are in this season that we're walking through, all in this together. And they found a way in the midst of what was taking place to do what seemed impossible, to keep this little boy, this son, safe. And today we get to find out how exactly that happened. But before we get into the text, let me say this. You know, sometimes we look at life and we can't imagine how we could put the pieces that are in front of us together. We can't imagine how we would make something out of the pieces that are in front of us. It can feel sometimes like we're trying to put a puzzle together without the box top. And if you've been there, or maybe you're there now, you've been struggling, you're not alone, number one. And number two, we want this to encourage you today. So I'm glad that you're with us. We're going to be in Exodus chapter 2. We're going to pick it up right now in verse 3. This is what it says, and starting off in verse 3, it says, when she could hide him no longer, this is the young son, she took him in a basket made of bulrushes and daubed it with bitumen and pitch. And she put the child in it and placed it among the reeds by the riverbank. And his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him. Now, I'm not sure about you, but I remember hearing this story when I was young about the baby going into the basket and being sent down to the river. And maybe for you, this is the first time that you're ever hearing this story. And if that's the case, then this is awesome, because I want you to know that I missed something huge in this for many, many years in my life. I never really thought about it the way that I'm sharing it with you tonight. I think it's just because when you read the story or you hear about what's happened, this wasn't necessarily considered the big part of it. But wow, there is something here, something powerful for us to see. And I want you to think about this. This woman is taking her 12-week-old baby, 3 months, right? Still young enough to count in weeks. And she puts him in a basket, not knowing if she will ever see this child again, not knowing who will ever find this child, not knowing if the child will survive what's about to take place. You know, the Bible does not say that an angel came to her, or that she had a dream, or that she had some kind of vision and God told her what to do. The Bible doesn't say that at all. All we know from the story is that this was a woman who was willing to do anything she could to save her son's life, including risking his life to save it. Can you imagine being so desperate? So desperate that there's no other choice but to make a basket, put your child in it, and send it down the river. And I want us to grasp this tonight. Sometimes big decisions are going to have to be made in life without knowing what is going to happen on the other side. You're going to have to trust that no matter what the outcome is, that you made the best decision sometimes. And sometimes that decision is going to work out, and sometimes that decision is not going to work out. But to not do anything at times is a worse decision. If Moses' mom was too afraid, think about this, if Moses' mom was too afraid to put her baby in the basket, into the water, into the unknown, the rest of Exodus would not even be in our Bibles. But she was strong, and she was brave, and she was desperate. And she chose to do something rather than nothing. So let's see what happens. Look at verse 4 with me, or verse 5. It says this. Now the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river. And while her young women walked beside the river, she saw the basket among the reeds, and sent her servant woman, and she took it. And when she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby was crying. And she took pity on him, and said, "This is one of the Hebrew children." She knew right away that this was one of the sons that was supposed to be killed. Of all the people in the world to find this baby, there is absolutely no way on earth that his mother would have ever wanted her to find him. Not any Egyptian for that matter, because in her mind, that would have been certain death. And this wasn't just any Egyptian, was it? No, this is a princess. This is Pharaoh's own daughter. The Pharaoh who put the law in place to have the sons killed. But she has taken pity on a Hebrew son. But you got to understand the story. This, for all purposes, this was like the worst enemy finding a child. Why her? Why would God allow this to happen? And the answer is that God has a plan. And we need to remember that God holds the top to the box, the puzzle box. He holds the box top to the puzzle. We're going to keep reading. We're going to pick it up in verse 7. It says this. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call you a nurse from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" Now, I want you to understand something about this little girl. This is his sister who watched her mother put the basket into the river to be sent down. She's followed this basket. Now, we don't know exactly how old she is, but later in the text, we find out that her name is Miriam. And the guess is that she's somewhere between 10 and 12 years old. And most likely, she's followed the basket because she is absolutely heartbroken about what is taking place. She wanted to see what was going to happen to her brother that she has helped hide for the last 12 weeks. She was probably one of them that was on the lookout, letting people know when they were coming. She was probably one who literally took him in her arms and ran the other direction at times when he needed to be hid. She has been trying to save her brother's life for 12 weeks, and now she is about to do it again. She thinks fast, and she knew that this baby would need to eat. And she knew that the princess couldn't feed him. So she suggests, "Do you want me to help you with that?" Now the princess has no clue that this is the baby's sister. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been doing a puzzle and you are convinced that there's a piece that's missing? I mean, I hope I'm not alone in that. But last week, Lorelai and I were doing a puzzle, and I was absolutely convinced that a piece was missing. But the further along we got, all of a sudden, this piece showed up. And sure enough, it was there the whole time. You know, sometimes we look at life and we think, how is this going to work out? Something has to be missing. And then God shows us right where the piece is that we need in the midst of the situation. And Miriam, she was that piece in the midst of this situation. Listen to what happens next. We're going to pick it up in verse 8. It says this, "And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, 'Go.' So the girl went and called the child's mother." So this is the sister to the baby, Miriam. And she goes to the child's mother, which is her mom. Now, this is just one small, tiny verse that had to have revolved around monumental questions and heartbreak all at the same time. Imagine it. She runs home and tells her mom, Mom, you're not going to believe it. The baby is safe. Now, picture the joy on her face, right? The joy. She just sent her 12-week-old son down the river in a basket. And then you can imagine her going, Miriam, how do you know? Where's he at? Who has him? And then Miriam has to tell her mom that the daughter of the man responsible for all of the death in their neighbors, in their friends, in their culture, all the death that's been happening with these sons, she has to tell her mom that his daughter is who has him. You know, what we read in just 1 second must have seemed like an eternity for her. Even if the princess took pity, is this who she would have ever wanted to find her son? I can't imagine the mixed emotions of both being thankful he's alive and devastated by who has him now. But there's about to be a grand silver lining. Miriam says, Mom, listen, you've got to dry your tears, and you have to come with me because the princess needs somebody to feed him. And I told her that I knew somebody who could feed the baby. And so I want you to imagine this. Can you imagine all the turmoil going on? And she's got to dry herself. She's got to dry her tears. She's got to run with Miriam all the way down. And what does she see there? She sees an Egyptian princess holding her son. Will she want her to stay there with her? What's going to happen? You know, that walk was like her walking into the unknown. And it was hard. When every step isn't laid out the way that you and I think that it should be, it's easy to let worry overwhelm us. You know, often in these moments, this is the time that you have to focus on what you know and not how you feel. What did she know? She knew right now that her son, who she'd been hiding for 3 months, that she just risked everything for, is alive and that he's safe. And she had to let that be more important than how she felt about this princess or any Egyptians for that matter. Look at verse 9 with me as this continues. And it says, And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages. So the woman took the child and nursed him. The princess looks at her and says, Take the child away. She gives the baby back to its mother. Except now that baby is under the protection of the princess. He's not going to be killed. Not only will he not be killed, but she is also going to get paid for taking care of her own son. Now, back in the day, depending on what scholar you read, most people think they nursed children back then until between 3 and 6 years of age. You see, there's a big catch to what's happening. The princess said, Take him away and nurse him. Meaning, one day, you're going to have to bring him back. One day, you're going to have to let your child go again. Just like you had to put him in a basket and send him down a river, you're going to have to let him go all over again. He is going to be raised as an Egyptian. He's going to be raised to be like the ones who killed her own people. Look at verse 10. It says, When the child grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son, and she named him Moses, because she said, I drew him out of the water. You know, she got a few more years with her son, many more than she thought she would have. She would have to once again, in the midst of this, trust the unknown to a God who knows. And even though there are times when the wrong pieces get thrown into the mix, when things that are unknown seem like they are greater than what is known, God has a way of showing us how the pieces still come together to finish what he knew the box top of the puzzle looked like from the beginning. And no matter what kind of pieces this world throws at us, he can still put the puzzle together. He can take a daughter of a tyrant and have her take pity on a slave. He can take the wisdom of a young girl and use her to bring the child back to its mother. He can use a box and a river to bring a child to a safe haven. You know, sometimes we don't like to work with the pieces around us. But sometimes the pieces that God uses to put the puzzle together, they don't look like anything that we think they should. But what we have to remember is that we are all in this together. We're all in this together. And God is big enough to use the pieces that are there to put his masterpiece together. Moses grows up an Egyptian prince, and God uses all of the pieces to eventually bring freedom to his people. A freedom that would be a foreshadowing of the freedom that would be brought by his son, Jesus. When once again in history, God takes the pieces that no one could have imagined and brings them together to make a masterpiece. You see, Moses overcoming death will bring freedom to his people, but Jesus overcoming death brings freedom for eternity to his people. The only thing that you need to do is believe in the one who holds the box top. Trust the unknown to the one who knows. You know, right now, this is a different season of life. I was talking to my kids this week. I said, this will be a season of life that you guys will be telling your great-grandchildren about what happened in 2020, what happened when the COVID-19 and the schools got canceled and we had to stay home. These are going to be stories that will be told for generations. But my hope and my prayer is that part of that story is that we held on to the known in the midst of the unknown. That we trusted the God who holds the box top, even though the pieces didn't seem like they were fitting together. That we trusted him above all things. And we trusted that just like throughout history, we saw with Moses that he took pieces and made a masterpiece. That we saw with his son Jesus that he took pieces and made a masterpiece. That he's still working on a masterpiece right now with us. And if you don't know that God and you don't know Jesus, reach out to us because I want you to know the good news. Life may seem messy. Things may seem chaotic. Maybe you've been searching for a long time and now you're finally at a place where you want to reach out. Listen, Jesus takes us as we are. And I want nothing more than to tell you about what he's done for you. And I want to give you hope and encouragement. I want to help you trust the known and the unknown. And I want to help you trust the one who holds the box top. Would you bow your heads and pray with me? Father God, we come to you tonight and we ask, Lord, that you would be with us. Help us, Lord, to focus on what we know and not how we feel. Lord, it's easy to be taken astray. It's easy for our minds to wander. God, help us to take this story that we heard today and remember the bravery and remember how you took pieces that nobody would have ever thought to be put together and you were making something beautiful and that you are doing that now. And that God, in the midst of heartache and suffering, you are good and you are still moving and your mission is still taking place. And God, if there's anybody who doesn't know you, Lord, I pray that today would be the day that they seek you out. Lord, that they would confess a faith in the known God and that they would let go of the unknown in their life. That they would believe that you sent your son Jesus die on a cross for them and that you forgave them for all the sin that has separated us. And all they have to do is believe and trust in you, that when you walked out of that grave, you did it for them as well. We thank you for that, Jesus, and we give you the glory for that. Be with us this week, we ask, Jesus, and we ask this in your mighty name. Amen. Thank you so much for watching tonight, or any time that you watch this video. We are blessed to be able to serve you and hopefully encourage you. Remember, if you need anything, we have a resource center right here at Wellspring. We'd be happy to help you get groceries or toiletries or things that you need. Reach out to us. You matter and you're important and you're not alone. Second, I just want to tell you, if you're watching, take your phone out, record yourself doing John 3:16 and send it to me in a private message. I would love to have it. I'm trying to do a special project, and I would love for you to be a part of that. Hey, we'll be back on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. with an interactive study. We look forward to being there with you guys. Thanks for watching our first 6:30 p.m. worship ever. It was great to be with you, and God bless.